What's going on, everyone? I wanted to make some content about a recent trade that I took on Hyperliquid that was my best trade of the year. Um, but I want to be brutally honest with the people that watch this. There was a lot that I messed up, and I could have done better. And I think that there's in this whole like kind of crypto trading, crypto Twitter space, there's not everyone, but there's a lot of lack of transparency. Um, I think in the trading world of how people actually are doing when they're trading. They're showing their huge 15-hour wins, but they're not showing all their losses. Um, I really want to be honest and transparent here about this trade and the other trades I was taking at the time and how much more I candidly could have made from this trade. But I think there are some things that other people can learn, especially from my mistakes, and then also kind of the things I did right. So just jumping into it, hype was actually something that I was shorting before I longed it. So I really like to start at the weekly time frame, zooming out as far as possible. Um, and really, when I look at this, hype is two giant ranges. It's this range here, and call it like, this is the bottom of the range. And then it drops down, and this original weekly high, I would say, is another range. And this weekly low here, up this big thrust candle, I would say is the other range. So this is range one, this is range two. So this is kind of the way I was thinking of playing this. Was, hey, what happens if we lose this level here? There's nothing down below. So this is why it was really attractive to me from a short setup. And the short, by the way, wasn't the big 7.7 R winner. It was the long I took afterwards. But basically, when I was looking at this setup, and this was back in, call it like mid-March, late March, the picture was very different than it was today. It was doom and gloom, tariffs, Trump's going to ruin the world, the economy, blah, blah, blah. He hadn't walked anything back yet. It was all just threats. It was before Liberation Day on April 2nd. So when I looked at hype, I was like, wow, there's really nothing underneath this level here. This is all just kind of like inverse price discovery. And price discovery means that it's touching new highs that have not been reached before. But I would say inverse is it's touching new lows that it's not seen. It hasn't seen before, at least on the Bybit chart. So that right there made me very interested in shorting this breakdown into brand new all-time lows on the chart. So let's just go to the daily, which I think is a more relevant time frame for a newer token like Hyperliquid. And let's just fast forward, and I'll show you exactly where I got into the trade and what I was looking for. So this is where I started looking at short setups. I said, okay, hey, it's really, really pushing this level, which is kind of what I draw as like the line in the sand lows here. And I knew as soon as it lost this level here, it was going to keep dropping. And that's what it did. And so I was short here. Okay, I've zoomed a little bit too far, so let me just go back. And we have to get a little bit more granular here. So let's go to the 4-hour chart, and I'll show you where I decided to close my short and go long. So I actually really kind of dovetailed short and then long on this. So the short play was a market buy when it thrust down below here. I said, hey, short this. I know this is going to keep dropping. So it did. It dropped, retested, boom, 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 boom. And then I saw it making another kind of push into a new resistance level. And I said, hey, it still kind of felt very bearish, and a lot of my indicators were showing me that this was probably still going to go lower. So I said, hey, double my size if I break down below this level. So let's see what happens. Boom. So this is the point where I was looking to take profits. And I was watching volume very closely because this move seemed very, very overextended at this point. I said, hey, okay, I think everyone and their mother is short on Hyperliquid right now. there's probably going to be a bottom at some point. And so when I saw this massive volume down here, this is just volume, and ATR, which is kind of average true range, which is the distance that like the spread of a coin, or like not spread, but it's like literally the distance of the candle, like how big is the candle. So bigger candles occur kind of towards like beginnings and ends of trends. It's volatility, it's volume, it's distribution or accumulation. It's sellers and buyers being very active in the market. So I'm seeing this pickup in ATR and volume here, and I'm seeing this is a key level, one test, two test, short, and I basically said to myself, hey, if this reclaims here, this is kind of a sign to get out. I think I closed my short candidly right when I saw that this candle was thrusting up. I saw this wick here. That's a very, very, very bullish wick on pretty high volume down here. And then I saw this thrust candle, and I think literally as this was going up, I closed it. So I think I got out here. I had an entry here and an entry here, so I made some profit on this. It really was not like a very good trade, though, candidly. I don't even think I made an R on it. So let's talk about the long that I took, and the long is actually right here. So this is even before Trump was rolling back the tariffs. I said, hey, all right, I was short this thing, so I've been watching it keenly. And I said, all right, this green level that I drew is definitely a key swing point for me. And if it can reclaim this with a lot of authority and conviction, I would be interested in it. So let's see what happens here. So I did not buy this breakout. I wasn't fully trusting this. Whenever I see a vertical candle and no retests, so these are 4-hour candles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertical candles. And I had drawn, these gray lines are weekly levels. So I said, hey, this is a weekly level. It's going to reject from here. And it did. And I said, hey, well, if it retests down here and doesn't sweep lower, I'm interested in this. But what I wanted to see first is I didn't want to see a tap and go. That is a little bit flimsy because I knew there were going to be stop losses down here. And you want to kind of like grab that liquidity before you run and go. So the ideal setup for me was sweep it, reclaim it, and then off to the races. So I did not enter yet. I did not enter, but I saw this. So I saw this candle, and this is on the 4. So maybe I should go to the 1 hour. Actually, no, the 4 is better because this is the moving average I was looking at. But basically, what I saw here was I said, hey, okay. There was a wick here that you could hide a stop loss below. There's also this wick, which couldn't push lower. So in my mind, I was saying, all right, sellers had their chance. They couldn't even get lower than this last kind of, call it low wick on the 4-hour. I think this wants to go higher at this point. It had a very aggressive move up, somewhat good volume here. Blue is buy, purple is sell on my indicator. This is also volume here, just a different view of it. I kind of like to sometimes what I do is I look at the pane without the indicator on the bottom, and then I will come out and then I'll look at the indicator as well down here, which is just volume and ATR. But anyways, I saw this wick, I saw this level. I said, hey, this is a great, great, great reclaim setup. And really, I would say I trade reclaims with 2 strategies. I would say the first is more of a like classic swing strategy. On alts, I'll take a swing after a flush and a reclaim, and I will wait and kind of just like target all time. Well, I'll target trend exhaustion. So basically, I'm using moving averages or some type of moving average. I use these clouds, which I'll talk about more maybe later, but it's basically a moving average cloud. And you basically hold the position until you lose the cloud, or the trend goes below the cloud. But what I saw on the 4-hour here is I saw that my indicator flipped from bearish, which is the purple. It might be a little bit hard to see. Purple is the bearish, and that's when the price is beneath it. And then the blue here is bullish. And bullish is when this is above the cloud, the price is above the cloud. but it also actually has to do with the direction of the moving average. So you'll see like blue and then purple. Purple simply just means it's going like a little bit less than flat, like it's going negative. Um, but anyways, so this was really significant to me on this indicator. I like to use the 4-hour trend on this indicator um, that I've created with a friend's help. It's inspired by a friend named Hen, this indicator. But basically, I saw the reclaim. That was the first thing. I saw the volume, which I've already talked about. I saw kind of like a really nice spike here, down at the bottom of activity. And then I saw this kind of like moving average flip. So I was stacking confluence. Um, and zooming out, actually, just back to the daily, uh, another indicator that I only look at on higher time frames, so daily and weekly, are stochastics. And stochastics are people have heard of RSI, um, double smooth stochastics, whatever. These are things that can help us gauge when an asset is like overbought or oversold, meaning they've gone up too much or they've gone down too much. And basically, on this indicator, which I do like using a lot, here, this is oversold, meaning it's gone down too much. And when it comes up to the very, very top, it means it's been bought too much. And you can kind of see it's pretty incredible. You can see that here. This has been oversold and then it rallies. And then kind of at the peak, it was overbought and then it comes down again. And again, so I was basically looking and said, hey, this is actually pretty damn consistent with this Hyperliquid token. You can see here that it was kind of in this buy zone. So I was like, hey, this is really, really oversold. It's looking for a bounce. Let's see what it'll give us. And so I saw, and also this is another indicator that I use. I really like to add confluence to trades. So anything you can stack where it's like stochastics, volume, trend reclaims, level reclaims. I think that's all a great way to have a winning trade. And then I saw this count here on my TD count, which is simply like, it's another trend following indicator. And 13 is very, very significant for a reversal, and a lot of other traders look at that. So I had the volume, I had the stochastics, I had the 13 TD count, which means that there's imminently probably going to be a reversal of trend. And let's see what happens here. So let's go back to the 4, which I think was kind of like my execution timeline. I entered once, I think actually literally on this level. The green zone was where my first entry was, and then I waited. Let's go down to the timeline and I'll kind of show you what I saw. So I put half of a position size on about here. My stop was here. I said, hey, if it loses here, it's gonna collapse. I'm gonna just, I can have a very tight stop. I think this is either gonna work or not work. I think at this point I was like, and I was looking at other tokens too, and I actually was trying to get Sui and Fartcoin at the same time. And Sui and Fartcoin were kind of at similar levels like this, but they crapped out. They stopped me out. To be totally honest and transparent, I was trying to be in 3 different trades. This Sui, Fartcoin, wasn't able to get Sui, wasn't able to get Fartcoin. They were at similar levels. They came down, stopped me out. I was bummed, but I was like, okay, whatever. But hype was so strong, and there's so much buying pressure on it. It wasn't declining, or it wasn't having as much volatility. And then from here, boom. When I saw this candle, and it gave a little bit of a retest, I legitimately think I put a market order in here. So I think my first buy was here on a retest of it dipped. So I saw this candle, it dipped. I said, hey, put stop here. If it retests this, I think it came up here. I put one order in here, boom, that was half an order, and I waited. I said, okay, wait. If this thing wants to go up, I'll double my size, and I'll put a full position size in. And I saw this thrust candle, and I was like, okay, I'm in. And so I think my second order came in here, and so my mixed order between half a position here and half a position here was this line, and I think it's actually calculated in my trading account. So that's the number. And then we're really off to the races. Let's go to the 4-hour timeline just to speed this up. It really took off from there. And again, we're back at this weekly trouble level where rejected and then kind of came back down into our kind of green base of support. And then it was just off to the races. It really didn't look back. And one thing I also want to point out, I really love when a bottom is a reverse head and shoulders, meaning shoulder, head, shoulder. And when it breaks this line here, it's kind of like a well-known thing that it's a very bullish signal. And then obviously the inverse of that, if it's a head, a shoulder, then that's bearish and breaks down to this side, then it's a bearish trigger. But those are actually pretty consistent patterns to trade and well respected, or at least kind of well acknowledged when people see them in the marketplace. And the reason they form those patterns is simply just market behavior. Like, you're trying to sell this thing off. This was the range. Boom, 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 range. All right, sellers are in control. Sellers try again. Boom, they can't do it. Back into the range. Boom, 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 boom. See, and then this wick was really significant. Sellers try again to come down here to make this wick here, and it immediately comes back up and holds this range. And that's a very bullish entry trigger. So from here, let's just kind of talk about my trade plan. So my trade plan here was I had a 1 position size in here. It was pretty good because my leverage was pretty nice on this. It was less than 5%. So I think I had around 18 to 20x leverage on this. So it was a pretty good position. And I basically told myself, I have 2 styles of trading, but I'll just talk about the style that's applicable for this. I like to take profit in 2 different ways. The first is I will cut 50% if I lose a more local trend or moving average, and I'll cut the other 50% if I lose a more high time frame trend or moving average. And also with things that are still looking good or bullish, I'm always looking to add more. So on this, I was like, I want to make a bigger position here. I want to add more on a retest. I want to do all these things, and it literally never gave me a chance to. It was so strong, it just took off, and I couldn't even add more to it in a responsible and risk-appropriate manner. So I will walk you through where I took profits. So it goes, it goes, it goes. I'm just going to put the volume away because I don't think it's super useful after the entry, at least for kind of how I'm invalidating things. Yes. Okay. So it comes up, and again, these great levels are just old weekly levels, and you just see how price reacts to them. I think it's so helpful to mark weekly highs and lows on your chart that are significant. Not all of them, but like if you see where the range is forming, just marking those on your chart. I mean, look at this. Like price reacts to this old weekly level. Price reacts to this weekly level. Price reacts to this weekly level. I didn't like draw these for my own leveling purposes. I literally just marked where the weekly levels were on the chart, like from back here. You see where they were? And it's funny how price reacts to them, right? I think this is close to where I took. Let me go to the 1 hour. Yeah, this is great. I think, yeah. So I cut 50% of my position at the loss of the 1 hour, which is, where did I lose the 1 hour? No, that wasn't the loss of it. That was loss of it. So I definitely moved half of my position stop here. So when it triggered there, I sold half at, yeah, call it like 15.30. So not bad. From 11.26 to 15.20 was half my position. And then we keep going. And so my next invalidation was my 4 hour. And this is really kind of where I had a lapse in judgment and a lapse of discipline, honestly. I think it's something people can learn from, and I'm learning from myself. But my invalidation for my second 50% was loss of the 4 hour cloud, which is this bigger one. So fast forward. See, this is hard. When you're in a pretty big position and there's a lot of gains on the line, this was my best trade of the year, and I could already tell this is probably going to be my best trade, thus far in April, through April. I didn't get rid of any of it. I stomached all of this chop and I said, hey, this really looks like distribution. What I was looking at here was, okay, zooming out, this looks like one giant level. This is a high, 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 and then call it like this is the lows and this is a deviation here. Or like how do you draw it? That's a deviation. And then it gets back in this. And I thought I was just going to ping pong in this range. That was my base case. Or that was kind of, I think, totally reasonable to assume. Um, so I basically was like, all right, well, this is range high here. I'm just going to keep this on the chart. I thought this was going to be range high for now. I thought there was maybe going to be a chance where it would hit the range highs, hit the range highs, sweep this level here, and then maybe it would pull back to this weekly level, and I could long it again here, hide stop here, and boom, run it back turbo. Did not give me that. So what I saw in the chart that made me close my position was I saw it reject off there and then start coming back. And I said, oh no, this looks like it's going to break down. I really don't like this price action. That's such a clean rejection, blah, 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 blah. And I did cut it. I candidly think I actually cut it around 1680, 1690, so almost 17. I said, oh, it rejected off of there. And that wasn't good. That wasn't good discipline because in my trading manual, in my I put every trade I take in an Excel document, and I put rules and I put kind of my game plan for it. And my game plan was to cut it if it lost this 4-hour cloud. So I would have cut it if it went down here. But I said, hey, this is a lot of profit. I got in here. I mean, look how far we've gone. This is a monster move I've caught. This is huge. More than 50% on an altcoin. And at the time, it really was like uncertain market timing. This was, the Trump tariff, doom and gloom, and a lot of fear. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to book these profits. I can get back in, and no big deal. And to some extent, I'm sure I'll trade Hyperliquid again. But as you'll see shortly, I didn't get a pullback retest. I didn't get a chance to get another sweep and then a reclaim. This thing just took off. And I was a little bit upset, but at the end of the day, it's just a trade, and I did very well on it, and I'll do better next time. Um, and that's really all there is to it. So, and look, this right here may have even triggered it to cut because this is almost losing this cloud here. Um, so again, I was kind of like right back where I cut originally. I know it goes higher from here, but yeah, I mean, you have to ebb and flow. You have to be reactive. You have to trust your gut. I think at the end of the day, like once you learn how to trade, trusting your nuance and your discretion is so important. But don't forget that you have rules for a reason, and it's oftentimes things that you've learned that are in your best interest. So this is a great trade, 7.7R, only risking 1R of capital on it too. So very happy with my execution for the most part, but there's so much more I could do, I think, better next time, and I will. And I'm going to try to post more stuff like this. And if you made it this far, some friends and I are making a free Discord channel where we're going to try to like make a trader community, teach people how to trade in the trenches, trade perps, swing trading, price action trading, which is kind of the other style that I do as well. But if you enjoyed it, thanks, appreciate it. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll talk to everyone later. Thanks.